Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Within the shrine. Put looked down on Luo Feng. Child, you are the most exceptional one from Earth. You've already passed many hidden tests before. There's only one last life or death path you have ahead. If you live, you become the true leader of the Earthlings. You'll have the chance to become a superpower in the universe, even having the possibility of reaching teacher's level. Reaching teacher's level? Luo Feng was shocked. That great being was one of the greatest in the vast universe, and only the founder of the huge axe dojo in the Hong Alliance could match him. This was what he said personally. Put emphasized. Of course, it's just a possibility. Anything related to laws or training, techniques and so on, all relies on yourself. Just like my junior, the leader of the Yangshan race, even after training for trillions of years, is still weaker than teacher. Luo Feng nodded. Actually, the leader of the Yangshan race, who is a power in the universe alone, and is able to make humanity not dare challenge him, was already very powerful. The final life or death path, what is it? Luo Feng asked. Star Tower. Put said softly, the final challenge is, make Star Tower recognize you as its owner. Star Tower to recognize me as the owner? Luo Feng's body shook. The process of making this treasure recognize an owner was a life or death battle. Teacher is extremely proficient in creating treasures. All the strongest beings in the universe are good at different things. While teacher may not compare to the huge axe founder at certain things, in terms of creating treasures, is definitely the best. Put exclaimed. The vast universe has many hidden treasures, and even the strongest dare not say they've seen and know everything. This Star Tower was something he created by chance within a special secret region back then. When it was close to completion, it interacted with a special gold light. Hence, it created this current Star Tower, making it different from the initial idea he had envisioned. Teacher has his own treasures and has no need for it. But he realized that it was too hard to let it search for its owner and recognize an owner. Put said. The Star Tower is considered as one of the strongest treasures in the universe, and is even compared to teacher's treasures. The process for recognizing an owner, however, is extremely harsh. Harsh? Luo Feng frowned. Put looked down at Luo Feng. Yes. The stronger the soul of the candidate, the more terrifying the process would be. A long time ago, teacher had searched among tens of thousands of warriors, from Sector Lord to Undying, to Knights etc. to try. But all of the warriors that tried had failed and died. This great being was vicious indeed, Luo Feng thought. Casually getting a bunch of warriors to experiment, even knights were like lab rats to him. Through trial and error, teacher deduced that there was still a chance for Sector Lords and Undyings. But knights and above have no chance at all. The process tests one's soul and willpower. Hence teacher nurtured the Earthling race to have swift growths in mental states. Put said, you are now at Sector Lord, and you have a chance of success. In history, among the two candidates before, one was Sector Lord and another was Undying, and both of them had reached high levels in mental states. However, both of them still failed. I'm Sector Lord. Luo Feng looked at him. This Put's vision had seen through everything. I can easily see through your soul. The treasure you rely on to camouflage your life energy may fool knights, but you cannot fool a universe master. Put smiled. Luo Feng realized, back then the primal Chaos City leader had easily seen through him too, knowing he had other bodies and so on. And this Put was only slightly weaker than the city leader. But he was still a universe master being. I know about your other bodies too. However, the moment the process begins, you'll have no way out. Even if your primal Chaos City leader teacher appeared, he couldn't save you. Put emphasized. Even though he's very powerful, and is even considered invincible within the primal universe, however in the actual universe and in Star Tower itself, he cannot do a thing. The moment the process starts, no one can stop it. The moment you fail, Your willpower and soul will completely crumble, and you'll die. Put emphasized. Even though your teacher can reverse time and space to revive you, he cannot revive any memory of the 9-volume manual. You cannot be revived along with that manual. It is something the universe doesn't allow. The moment you die, even if you are revived, the 9-volume manual will be gone and the evolution you got from it will be gone. Even if you get the General and King armor again, you'll have no way to use them. In all, you'll lose the right to become the leader of the Earth race, and any ability to ever get it. Luo Feng took a deep breath. If he lost all this, his strength would fall greatly. Rumble, countless sealed stars suddenly shook about the shrine. It's begun. Put turned to the center of the shrine. The process is about to begin. Star Tower is a treasure the leader of the Earth race deserves. Light descended from above the shrine and gathered in the center. Countless lights were shining on one spot, forming a translucent crystal, and it glowed with gold threads within. Luo Feng. Put turned over. The first candidate persevered for 2,600 years before falling. The second one went on to 3,300 years. I hope you can survive. Luo Feng turned to look at the crystal. A chance to change his fate. This entire process was a chance to change his fate. If he failed, even if the Primal Chaos City leader revived him, he would lose everything in regards to the 9-volume manual. He would only be a genius without his special encounters. He would be much weaker than before and the city leader's respect for him would definitely fall. It would be lucky if he could become a knight, and a knight, in the great being's eyes, were nothing but little ants. If he succeeded, becoming the leader of the Earth race would give him the chance to become a superpower in the vast universe. He would even have the chance to become someone as strong as the great being himself. Success. I have to succeed. Luo Feng roared. Master. Heavy Arrow communicated mentally to him. I just fled from the space, even though I warned Chu Wu about Chen Chen, he was surrounded and ultimately killed by the demon camp. Master, where are you? I can feel your location but I cannot enter. Chu Wu fell. Luo Feng couldn't help but shout out. Chen Chen. I have to kill you. Heavy Arrow, leave Star Tower first, and even the outer region wars. Wait patiently until I contact you via the virtual universe. Luo Feng ordered. He had given him an anonymous virtual universe network device much earlier. Yes, Master. Luo Feng, you must be sturdy, since the process is incredibly painful and long. The two candidates have proven in the past that 3,300 years still isn't enough. Put looked at him. Luo Feng nodded. Kill Chen Chen? He first had to pass this trial. If he failed and died, his own underlings will die along with him. Even if he was revived, without the General and King armor, it would be hard to even deal with Chen Chen. I must survive this. Luo Feng thought. Then begin. Put emphasized and gently pointed at Luo Feng. Immediately, a seemingly normal crystal without any special energy or pressure flew at him. As it touched Luo Feng, he didn't even feel it enter his mind. The instant the crystal touched with his core, his main core hidden within his world ring shook violently. Even the Mosha body and golden horned beast's soul shook, just like how if someone controlled his human body's soul, they could completely control his other bodies. There were 3 parts of the soul, but the main core was the center of it. Also, his consciousness could easily switch between the 3. Even if one body was destroyed, it was fine. However, the moment his soul was taken over and he became a slave, the rest of the bodies would be affected as well. As the crystal melded with him, it affected the main core. The moment he failed, the main core would crumble. I don't sense anything. Didn't he say that it was very painful and would last for a long time? Luo Feng sat cross-legged, and was curious. Rumble. That unbelievable terrifying pain instantly attacked all 3 bodies and his main core. It felt like a beast was trying to crawl out of his soul. Put sat cross-legged within the shrine, his purple long beard swaying in the wind. Looking at the cross-legged Luo Feng shivering from the pain, he thought, it's not so easy to become the leader of the Earthling race. Let's hope that this third candidate will make it through. There was once in his life that Luo Feng had to immolate his soul to fight the golden horned beast. That was when he possessed it. That was when his life took a big change. And since then, this was the second time. Everything depended on whether he could survive this. Within the vast energy flows, a being over 90,000 kilometers tall glowed with black light. He sat cross-legged on a mountain peak. This old being had sparkling translucent horns. His voice boomed, "Mentor Master, I've unintentionally butted in on your fight with the humans. However, those 91 sand grains, I want them. Old punk, my race finally managed to suppress that human and now you want to simply take away one of the 3 treasures." A thunderous voice shook the entire energy flow about, resounding at the over 90,000 kilometers tall being. "If you don't hand it over, I'll help the human." The majestic old being didn't seem disturbed at all. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly as he turned towards the vast space, almost like he could see through any distance, straight at the Star Tower in the 7th battlefield. The third candidate has begun. The majestic being's eyes lit up with anticipation. Let's hope that the little punk will succeed. Old punk, you sure are vicious. Don't let me meet you. In the distance, the great being raged, causing lightning to strike throughout the energies. After which, 91 resplendent beams of light shot over towards the old being. "Mentor Master, Primal Chaos City Leader, I'll take my leave." The old being laughed. Sitting on the mountain peak, he instantly became a beam of light. Even the mountain peak vanished from the energies about. The pain of his soul tearing apart caused his body to shudder. This pain is still much weaker than anticipated. It should be about the level when I absorbed the 110th Blood River crystal. Luo Feng was able to maintain his calm. In terms of threshold of pain, thousands of years ago when he was still weak in Blood River world, he felt that the pain caused during the absorption of the first crystals alone was unbearable. However, as he grew, it honed his mental state more. However, as he absorbed more Blood River crystals, the pain naturally grew more and more. Back then he had crumbled countless times from the pain, and over these thousands of years, his threshold grew more and more. Currently, the golden horned beast's right claw and back had a total of 165 crystals. It's easy. Even though his body shook slightly, he could still smile. Luckily in terms of mental states, he had already reached the limit of knowing oneself. Even though this was the lowest of the 3 levels, it simply represented where he was at. Like innocence emphasized on coupling strength with gentleness, and the highest level, encompassing all, included everything. The 3 levels were explained as such. The first level was stupidly sticking to oneself, without any skill, simply relying on force alone and perseverance. Almost like a stone against rushing waters, being honed over and over. The second level had skill involved. Knowing when to be soft and when to be hard, and eventually melding the two, naturally withstanding any force against it. The third level was above them all. However, the only reason why the second and third levels were higher than the first was simply because skill was involved and there was an amplifying effect. The same soul willpower, comprehending innocence and perfect fusion, could withstand pressure and illusions, withstanding soul attacks at least 10 to hundreds of times more. If one reached the level of encompassing all, his ability to withstand all these would rise hundreds to thousands of times more again. However, this fusion of the crystal had nothing to do with soft or hard, encompassing nothing. It was simply melding the crystal and the soul. All one had to do was to bear the pain. And at this time, the mental states were useless, it all depended on one's perseverance and pain threshold. This pain was from within the soul. Not illusions or from external sources. Yin-yang? Encompassing all? This pain was from within, and not from an attack, rather, true pain from the fusion of his soul with the crystal. Luo Feng had walked the limit of the first level all this while, constantly honing his self and forcefully bearing with pain. His mental state had long been honed to that of a diamond. The Star Tower's crystal gradually melded with his soul in an extremely slow manner. As the level of fusion grew gradually, the pain naturally followed suit. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20, 30. In the blink of an eye, 60 years had passed. While bearing with the pain, he continued to study the beast god statue and laws, even connecting to the virtual universe and meeting with his family. On the 61st year, the pain level had already doubled compared to before. Luo Feng, who was optimistic initially, began to worry. The speed of this pain growing is faster than expected. I could easily bear with it initially, but it's grown so much in 60 years. If it keeps up this way, I don't have any confidence in bearing with this for over 3,000 years. What do I do? Fall? No. He opened his eyes, looking at Put sitting cross-legged beside him. I have to survive, I have to succeed and become the Earthling race's leader. Luo Feng thought. While bearing with the intense pain, he swiftly made his plan. Hone my soul. From birth till now, I've only lived for a few thousand years. In terms of mental state training, this process will go on for at least 3,300 years. During these 3,300 years, my mental state may rise even more. However, the level of growth is still not enough. I have to search for the quickest way. Luo Feng pondered, his mind coming up with many mental state training methods. Actually, bearing with the intense pain alone was a form of training. It would make one more resolute. Not enough, just using the pain to hone myself is not enough. I need a quicker way. From birth till today. The first 200 years, his mental state training had been going pretty well. The later thousands of years, even though it had risen quite a lot over time, in terms of speed, it was much slower than before. The heart is true, pure and honest. Only then can a miracle occur. Luo Feng believed in one of the experiences shared by one of China's ancestors before. True. In nature and in virtue. Pure. No distractions. Honest, having an honest heart. This was the path to unleashing one's soul. The theory may seem simple, just like if how a researcher focused solely on research, without any distractions within, he could fully immerse himself within and his soul would provide sufficient energy to grow. The results and efficiency would improve by tens to hundreds of times. These 60 years, I've been bearing with the pain. Yet, I've been affected by it and unable to steady myself. Luo Feng thought. From now on, I'll begin to study the beast god path, and purely focus on it. No matter how painful it gets, I will not let it affect me. My heart will be pure and solely focused on study. Luo Feng thought. Being vigilant in peacetime, and planning ahead. Luo Feng could feel the impending danger ahead. Under this formless pressure and intense pain, he began to immerse himself in the study of the beast god path. Being true and pure may sound easy, doing it however was extremely hard. Without the intense pain, Luo Feng was easily able to carry on. However, it was hard not to be affected by it. Even with his strong willpower, he would often get distracted and thrown off by the pain. And the descending formless pressure would distract him too. However, gradually, he forgot all about it. Tossing the pain aside, no matter how intense it got, he focused on the beast god path. Only in solitude would one's soul unleash its strength. And a pure and honest heart, especially one that is able to remain this way despite the pain, would produce endless energy, allowing him to persevere. Virtual universe, in the highest peaks of Thunder Island, within a shrine covered in vast energy. The primal Chaos City leader had been worrying about his own matters for the past hundreds of years. He had finally gotten to relax a little. He summoned Luo Feng, wanting to test him, also find out about his situation. He actually closed off his virtual universe connection. And he even left an automated reply for me, saying his training. He sat in the throne and laughed. Ever since he began accepting the inheritance, Luo Feng had entrusted several tasks to his family, but he didn't dare disturb the city leader, not even sending a mail. Rather, he prepared an automated reply. The moment the city leader sent a request or mail over, it would reply him immediately. Outer Region Wars Army System. When and where was the last time my disciple Luo Feng connected to the virtual universe? The city leader sat in his throne and said to the space ahead. Primal Chaos City Leader. Almost like metal clanging, Luo Feng's last connection to the virtual universe was in Star Tower. Star Tower? The city leader nodded. Hundreds of years ago, the sealed star had fallen. Over 100,000 emperors went for it, with about 8,000 of them falling. It was extremely hard for an emperor to fall, since so many fell at that one time. The news spread far and wide, shaking the entire universe. As for the sealed star, it was said that it landed in one of the distant universe race's Chi-Hu race emperors. Luo Feng, when you enter the virtual universe, come see me immediately. The city leader sent out an order to Luo Feng. He didn't know that his disciple was currently facing a terrifying trial. With his soul under intense pain, Luo Feng had been immersed in studying the beast god path. During this time, his consciousness and willpower unknowingly began to grow at a rapid rate. The effect was incredibly beneficial. Even though his mind was growing, as time passed, the pain grew more and more intense too. The level of pain outgrew his soul's growth. 100 years, 200, 300, 800, 900 years. In the blink of an eye, 1,000 years had passed. Luo Feng initially had a huge advantage against the pain. However, even his 1,000 years of training couldn't keep up with the pain growth. It reached closer to his limit. If this kept up, Luo Feng was afraid he would barely make it past 2,000 years. When that happened, the moment it exceeded his limit, his consciousness and willpower would crumble, and the crystal would make his soul crumble. He would fall. Of course, there were unexpected benefits from this 1,000 year of training. His over 1,000 years of honing and immersion into the beast god path resulted in certain gains. Just his beast god presence alone had reached the 19th level of the heavenly bridge. It was a pity that his law comprehension had no help towards this life or death inheritance. Even though he faced danger, his soul was still completely immersed. With a pure and true soul, he didn't even sense the danger. If he didn't do so, his soul wouldn't have grown so fast over these years. 1,600 years, 1,700, 1,800, 1,900. The pain of the soul grew more and more terrifying. It far exceeded that of absorbing the 165th crystal and was very close to his limit. However, he still kept himself immersed in the beast god path. Unless the pain reached a level where it could actually affect his state, he didn't even sense the danger. Heart pure and true, with no other distractions. 2,000 years, 2,100, 200. The fusion level of the crystal and his soul got higher and higher. It made the intense pain grow even more. This wasn't just any ordinary pain, but a tearing of the soul. At the final threshold, the soul would be completely torn apart. However, as it got closer to the limit, Luo Feng focused his mind. It helped hone his mental state even more and he improved faster. 2,300 years, 2,400, 2,500, 2,600. It's been 2,600 years. Within the shrine amidst the sealed stars, Luo Feng sat cross-legged there covered in perspiration and blood. Under such pain, blood drops would drip out as his entire body shivered. However, there was a strong sense of sturdiness from his expression, and he wasn't shaken by such pain. The two candidates from the past, the first one lasted 2,600 years, and the other for 3,300 years. Both were absolute geniuses of their time, and were incredibly exceptional elites and beings of the Earth race. In terms of encounters, the first one was the strongest, and he was at the level of innocence, yet he only lasted 2,600 years. The second one, however, was slightly weaker, even weaker than Luo Feng. However, his mental state reached the level of encompassing all. At the end, he too fell. There have been many with strong mental states in the history of Earth. There are countless in the first level, many in the second and quite a few in the third. Put side within. His teacher, the great being that nurtured the Earth race, had said before. The three states weren't higher or lower than each other, they simply represented three different paths. Knowing oneself and staying true to it, knowing one's strength and absolute confidence. No matter what happened, one would always believe in oneself and not be shaken. However, the growth of this path was the hardest, with no external factors, relying solely on willpower. Put crudely, it simply meant being extremely obstinate. Such a person would suffer easily. However, such a warrior wouldn't follow the crowds, he would be sturdy from within. Even when many others criticize and scold him, he wouldn't change. This was the most tiring paths of all. Innocence, man and nature as one. Such a person could gain the respect of many others. It was hard to hold grudges against such a person, as they saw through the souls of trillions of lives. In history, many of them were considered saints. Encompassing all, one believed in the vastness of the universe, and that they were unable to exceed everything. They weren't satisfied with just going with the flow, they wanted to encompass everything. Such warriors had huge hearts, with endless ambition, and one's belief was terrifying too. 3 paths. The reason why the Earth people regarded each level as higher than the other was because they hadn't produced a true great being. There were many in history that had reached the peak of knowing oneself, and after encountering countless setbacks, there were huge changes in history itself. They had seen through themselves and realized eventually that getting along was the path, and completely enforcing their way was too extreme. Hence there was man and nature as one, the so-called perfect level. Then, they no longer suffered, no longer butted heads, rather they were worshipped by many. After walking that second path for a long time, they would have deeper visions. They weren't satisfied with just man and nature as one, they wanted to encompass it all. This was the 3rd level. In the history of Earth, anyone who reached the 3rd level, built countries or sects. All in all, they were all the pinnacle beings of Earth. This heart that encompassed all allowed them to take any setbacks and improve through any situation. While their qualifications may not match others, however, with resolve and steady improvement, it allowed them to reach the top. 3 paths, different levels. The 3rd was the strongest, the 2nd one followed, and the 1st one was the hardest. Hence it became known this way through the many generations of Earth, and ignorance was as such. Any great being, or absolute warrior would however mock this, as they knew that the path was simply different. What was the point of comparing these? To persevere for over 2,600 years, his heart is indeed sturdy. Put said, against such tearing pain, he must have a completely sturdy heart and willpower to push through. Only then could he last long, it'll just depend on how strong his heart is. There were many courageous warriors in Chinese history that crumbled under torture. Despite their loyalty, it could only be said that their pain threshold hadn't been honed. That their methods to train weren't strong enough. As for such pain that permeated the soul, that lasted for thousands of years, who could take it? As for the normal heroes from the past, just a few thousand years of solitude would make them go crazy, much less what Luo Feng was going through now. While he was bearing with the torture, he forced himself to not be affected by anything, immersing himself in studying the Beast God path. In the 2800th year, the high level of pain finally reached his true limit, affecting his study. Don't disturb me. Howl. Within his internal world, the golden horned beast looked down at the statue and copied it. Just like some scientist from Earth, even in sickness and pain, they continued to research. Even though they were affected and distracted, they would continue their work. Luo Feng, who had been immersed within for over 2,000 years, had already gotten so deep in that even though he was affected, he would simply push it aside. Pain? Force it away, continue his study. Distraction? Push it aside. A pure heart, against the danger, it created a mysterious energy and strength, allowing him to push aside the pain. And every time he did so, it allowed his heart to stabilize. It would gradually strengthen him, and this speed of growth was faster than before. Just like that, Luo Feng held on. 2,900 years, 3,000, 3,100 years, 200. His ability to push aside the pain grew better as time passed. The strength his soul had for pushing aside this eternally rising pain, this pain that he could never quell, only continued to meld with it. However, the pain continued to grow. Almost like after stabilizing himself from the distractions for so long, one would still eventually get tired and unable to move. No matter how strong his beliefs were, one would reach a limit, and the result was, to die. Is this the end? Put sat cross-legged there and looked at the shivering Luo Feng covered in sweat and blood. His body twitched in pain, sometimes madly, sometimes a little. His entire body was shivering madly. He's tired. Child, just give up. Even if you fall, and your teacher doesn't revive you, just because of your strong will, I will reverse time and space to revive you. While you may lose much, however, the process for the Star Tower to recognize an owner is simply too hard. Back then when the tower melded with that colorful light, even teacher didn't have a guarantee, maybe, then even if the Earth race produced incredibly exceptional beings, it still wouldn't work. If the first three all failed, even the fourth, fifth, and so on might keep failing. Who knows when teacher will change his mind and not force this Star Tower to recognize an owner. Put sighed. He was a universe master, a pinnacle being of the vast universe. He could easily see through Luo Feng's soul, and he knew that Luo Feng was already at his limit. Don't disturb me. Don't bother me. Luo Feng was still completely immersed in studying the beast god path. Against the powerful pain that constantly interrupted him, he howled within and raged, "Don't disturb me, no one can disturb me, no one will." Rumble. A sudden change. If his willpower and consciousness before was said to be honed into a diamond, incredibly sturdy and piercing, over the 3,200 years of training, it reached another level and it became an even denser diamond than before. Just like it was placed in a location with extreme pressure, like a star becoming a neutron star. Consciousness and willpower, it had an unbelievable evolution. The diamond was forced into an atomic nucleus. Continue. Luo Feng had a feeling like he never had before. Almost like when he reached his final limit of fatigue, passing it now gave him even more strength than before. The pain had disrupted his study before, knocking him hard until he reached his limit. Now, however, it was completely suppressed and gave no resistance whatsoever. What? In the shrine, Put, who had been observing the entire process, glanced at Luo Feng's soul and naturally discovered the evolution. How did it change? How did this happen? This never happened to the two of them before him. Especially the second, he lasted for 3,300 years before falling and nothing like this ever happened. Put was shocked. Right, the two candidates, one was at innocence and the other at encompassing all. They had different ways of dealing with the pain. Innocence would make him get used to the pain and meld with it. Encompassing all would encompass even the pain. However, the two of them were both wrong. Wrong in the sense that this isn't a pain from anything, but rather the crystal melding with the soul. This isn't an illusion, but something real. While their methods could push their souls to the limit to not feel the pain. However, without withstanding it, they cannot suppress it. Their strength to suppress it naturally won't be enough. Because they melded with it, they encompassed it. And Luo Feng chose to withstand it. Completely withstand and suppressing the pain, not ever melding or encompassing it. While he may feel more pain. But isn't this a way to train the first level of knowing oneself? Pushing his willpower to the limit finally resulted in evolution, resulting in a huge jump. Put gasped. A huge leap forward gave Luo Feng a huge leeway. 3,300 years, 3,900. 4,000. 300, 4.900. The crystal continued to melt with him, and the pain gradually rose. Even though the evolution before gave Luo Feng a huge leeway, over the past 2,000 years, it finally got close to his limit again. Is there no way for this Star Tower to recognize an owner? The past 3,200 years was only the first half. Put was shocked as well, because the longest a candidate lasted before was only 3,300 years. No one truly knew how long this process would take. No one had done it. No one knew the limit, whether it was Put or that great being before. If Luo Feng fails, how many more candidates would it take to actually succeed? His face was filled with worry. Part 1 ends here.